Hey, this is Greg Milby, community storyteller for Kentucky's Heartland, and that there is the weather dude, George
Yep.
Herbig with Weather Now Kentucky. I like that, George. As your page is growing,
Yeah.
uh, somebody has said, "Hey, have you checked out the weather dude on
I'm down
Facebook?"
with it. I'm
So
absolutely cool with that.
you're the weather dude. All right,
Yeah.
lot of stuff to get to.
Lots.
I mean, we've got a winter weather event coming in here that
hmm
could cause a lot of issues. Now,
Absolutely.
George, break it down for us. What are we in for, and when is all this going to happen?
This is absolutely the largest impactful event that we've had this season. I say that with a lot of responsibility and a lot of accountability there. I know by saying that it puts a lot of emphasis on this storm, but I want to press that urgency to the public that this is one of the most impactful events, if not the most impactful event that we've had this season. And outside of the severe weather that we had in December, probably within the last couple of years. And the reason for saying that is we can't forecast power outages and whatnot. We can only communicate the weather, but I can definitely say that with confidence that we'll see widespread power outages out of this across the heartland. A lot of traffic implications as well, and just overall a lot of hazards created by not only the ice but the sleet and snow we might see on the backside. And I'll get to that in just a moment. But breaking down the timing, real quick, we see that the rain is starting off right now, and then it'll kind of have a break. We're probably entering that break right now, actually, if I were to pull up a radar. But we're actually entering that break right now. What is going to happen is the temperatures are going to stabilize for a little bit, and then tonight we see a big drop. And you're going to be like, right now, I bet a lot of people are asking, how in the world are we going to see freezing rain tonight? Well, the answer is Arctic air is moving in. And I know not a lot of people in Kentucky know about Arctic air, but Arctic air is some of the most powerful and dense air that you can see. So even though we have Gulf moisture that's pumping all the rain and all the snow and all the sleet into us, the Arctic air will win out at the surface because it's that much stronger. So if Greg would throw the timing graphic up on the screen, I'll show you guys the graphic and the timing that we're expecting to see. So we have a few different zones here that we're looking at. The freezing rain in the purple zone should start anywhere between 4 to 7 a.m. I will caution you though, the models and the data that we're seeing now is trying to pull that start time a little bit closer to around midnight tonight. And that affects us dramatically. And I'll get into that here in just a moment. There's a lot of information with this, so you want to stay tuned for the entire explanation here. But the freezing rain starts between 4 to 7 a.m. at the moment for that purple zone, and this is valid for Thursday, by the way. So again, this everything today we'll see likely going to be rain. High confidence in that. The transition happens on Thursday, and then maybe some snow into Friday. Transition between 5 to 7 p.m. on Thursday. That the timing I want to say, guys, real quick as well, can go back and forth. This is what we're going to be calling a nowcast event, and what we mean by that is this has a high probability of changing as the system enters Kentucky. And here's why. It's called a phasing system. So when you have that happening, a lot of things can change because 1 to 2 degrees difference on the temperature or an hour or two difference on that low pressure arriving to the state or the Arctic air arriving to the state can make a massive difference whether you're going toward rain or more toward snow. So let's keep going through the timing. Here's wanted to kind of put that little disclaimer out there as well. So you see that blue zone for the Heartland, really for Ratcliffe, Elizabethtown, up to Bardstown, going down to Hodgeville area, over toward the Meade County and Breckinridge County areas, and then just that nice swath throughout the middle of the state. The freezing rain should start between 6 to 8 a.m. Eastern time for you. Transitions of snow later Thursday night. And then you go down to the light blue zone. That's including the more of the southern heartland toward Campbellsville, Mumfordville, Horse Cave, Lebanon. That area should see freezing rain starting around 11 a.m. noon on Thursday. And that can be a little bit later. But again, these times are waffling back and forth at this point. Light flurries around midnight on Friday. Not a whole lot of snow expected in the night zone at all. Not a whole lot of snow expected in general here at the moment. But some data at the moment is actually trying to increase that probability, but we'll kind of come back to that at a later time. So you can see the timing is kind of going back and forth on this, Greg. We're seeing some data come in showing some new trends at the moment. So not all this is set in stone, but confidence is high that an extremely impactful ice storm will enter Kentucky. And on the backside, we'll see some sleet and snow, especially for folks north of the parkways in the heartland.
Boy, you're just a ball of great news, George.
Unfortunately, and unfortunately to add to that, the temperatures afterward aren't kind. And that's why we urge folks to go hit the grocery store, get your gasoline for your generators, get it prepared for this. It's not comparable to the 2009 ice storm. I know a lot of people have asked that, mainly because after the 2009 ice storm, the temperatures were below freezing for what 2 to 3, almost 4 weeks in some places. So that ice was just locked in for the state. Um, this is not going to be that long of a duration. However, it will have similar short range impacts, especially in the heartland.
Hmm. Well, I mean, I asked you for good news, George, and you threw in another segment. Do you want to kick my dog while we're on here or something? It just seems like you're just not
Man,
bringing anything good.
I
Is there
wish, I
any
wish.
chance that we won't see ice and we'll see snow? Is there any chance these models could be wrong and that stuff that's really to the north near Indianapolis and all that will be sliding here? And if it were to do that, is it any better?
Mhm. Absolutely, there's a very low chance. However, I would put emphasis on extremely low. When you're dealing with the Arctic air, the models can they we haven't had a model yet that handles Arctic air perfectly. Okay, so it can happen. I would just say there's high confidence that it won't, and mainly because while we'll feel like it's really cold enough down here at the bottom to the surface, to support snow. Like we'll be around 20 to 25 degrees in a lot of places by 7 to 8 p.m. tonight. We're thinking, how in the world are we still seeing freezing rain? Well, the answer is that a mile above our heads, we're actually still above freezing. The reason for that is that Arctic air will allow the cold air to settle while the warm air from the Gulf rises. And so what happens is that snowflake that starts all the way at the cloud will actually melt in that mid layer and then come back and try to freeze onto something on the ground because, again, the ground would be below freezing. The only difference is that we could probably see the only thing changes that could be made is if that upper layer was cool by maybe 1 to 2 degrees, which that is possible, by the way. Then we would see more sleet than ice. I still am very confident this is not a big snow maker for the state. This is more so an ice and potentially sleet maker. We could see some very powerful sleet in the northern portions of Kentucky. I'm talking like a 1 to 2 inch per hour sleet, and that's powerful.
Hmm.
I have absolutely no doubt. Like with the system we had on a couple weeks ago when I was on, we said that there would be some dry spots because there was maybe a little bit of lack of moisture. That is absolutely 100% not the case here. There is plenty of moisture, so much, in fact, that we're actually going to see around 3 to 4 inches of just pure precipitation by the time this is over with, which is astounding levels. If that was all snow, just to put it into perspective, that would be at least 30 to 40 inches of snow in the state. So just to put that in perspective of how much precipitation is falling. So the answer to your question, if we could see some snow instead of freezing rain, I do think we'll see some snow on the back edge of this, maybe 1 to 3 inches, especially in the northern Kentucky areas. But this is more so an ice maker, and that's why you see a lot of the ice storm warnings out now. And if you want, you can throw that graphic up on the screen, Greg, and we'll show you what all the warnings and advisories and watches are at the moment. As you can see, for the places in yellow, which is pretty much the entire heartland and darn near the entire state of Kentucky, under an ice storm warning. Now, for the northern portions by the Ohio River, that goes into effect at 1 a.m. Eastern time. For the more of the central Kentucky portions like the Nelson, LaRue, Hardin, Bullitt, Meade, Breckenridge, and Grayson counties, that goes into effect at around 7 a.m. Eastern time on Thursday. And I want to caution you that does not expire until 7 a.m. on Friday. So a 24-hour ice storm warning. And that's pretty significant. It's been a while since we've had an ice storm warning here in Kentucky, let alone one that lasts 24 hours. So you can see some very heavy, at times, freezing rain out of this, which helps in some cases. That rain's heavier, so it has more weight to it. So it's bypassing some of the elevated objects. What is the number one elevated object that we're worried about right now? Power lines.
Mm-hmm.
So the heavier freezing rain could actually help with that, but there still will be moments of light freezing rain, and that is where we're concerned about some accumulation and what we call ice accretion on the power lines that could really cause some issues. And I know some of you saw the light blue on that. That's a winter weather advisory, and the pink going back to that map was the winter storm warning. Winter storm warning is a little bit less than the ice storm. The winter storm warning for out in eastern Kentucky, I know it kind of really doesn't have anything to do with us. That's mainly for just a little bit of everything. The ice storm is the most significant warning out right now, and unfortunately, that's what exists in the heartland.
Yeah, I don't like all that yellow there, George. That's a lot of yellow. So,
That's a lot of
As
yellow.
now I know you've sent me a map, animated
Hmm.
map of that. Do you want to go into that and kind of explain the timeline of what we're
Absolutely.
going to see here?
Let's
All
go ahead and
right.
throw every
So
bit of information at the people so they know what they're going into here.
all right. So I'm
Um,
going to give
it,
you a little bit of that.
Yeah, so as we can see, this is probably valid for around 10 p.m. to midnight tonight. You can see that when that starts, it's mainly just a dry slot of regular rain, but you can see the pink is the freezing rain, the purple is the sleet, and that back edge blue that you're seeing at the moment right now is actually snowfall. And that's what we're alluding to. Is some of the models that see how that ended that snowfall really quickly. Some of the models now are trying to extend that snowfall and make it a little bit heavier. But at the moment, we're going to lean toward the more conservative side and say this is more of a freezing rain and then a sleet event. So that's why we're really concerned about travel issues because, as you know, Greg, with that rain and coming down today, it washed off the salt that we already had on the roads. It prevents road plows and road trucks from going out there and putting salt down because again it'll wash it right off. And I don't know about you if you had anything powerful or magical, but in my book, it's a really hard to plow ice. So it's going to be significantly impactful, and that's why we've had a lot of alert out on this. We had the first alert in Kentucky out almost a week ago, and some people thought we were crazy, but we saw this coming and we knew this was going to happen, and hopefully everyone had enough time to get prepared for this. Mainly because the impacts are massive, unfortunately.
Yeah, it doesn't look good at all. I mean, I'm not a weather guy, so I don't know a lot, but
No, I
I can
mean,
just tell you that doesn't look good, George.
you have two eyeballs. You know that pink is freezing rain, that purple is sleet, and that blue is snow, and that is a 30-hour model right there. So for 30 hours, some type of winter precipitation is falling in the heartland, whether it's freezing rain, sleet, or snow, and that no matter what it is going to be impactful, especially with the temperatures that we're seeing afterward of single digits in a lot of places. So this is really going to be locked in. And that's why we have a big fear of power outages because once that ice gets on, you don't need a whole lot of ice on power lines, as you know, Greg, in order to
Mhm.
bring those power lines down. You only need about a 5/10 of an inch or a tenth of an inch to really get that ice on there and to make it when it freezes, it gets super heavy, and then you get a little burst of wind, and that power line snaps right off. A lot of the biggest fear thing as well with this is you'll hear a lot of cracking outside, and that is actually trees cracking in half and snapping in half. Especially your older, your taller, your weaker trees. I remember back in I want to say 3 or 4 years ago when we had just a little bit of ice in Radcliffe, all the cracking and the snapping that I heard, it sounded horrendous. And there will be some of that tonight as well, or I'm sorry, tomorrow night as well. And again, the main impactful time I would say for the Heartland is anywhere from 10 a.m. Eastern time all the way until around 4 a.m. Eastern time on Friday. So you're looking at a long swath of just winter precipitation mess, and it doesn't look like it's going to go above freezing until Sunday. So that's why we tell folks get you enough groceries, get you enough gasoline for your generators. It'll last you until at least Sunday. You'd rather be more safe than sorry in this situation.
Well, certainly. Now, George, I know you are continually updating people on your Facebook page, which is at
Absolutely.
WNKWX. You can go
Yep.
there and updates. And I know you're scheduling ahead for live videos. So if people have questions and things about weather, they
Hmm.
can come over to your page and get that correct.
Absolutely. We'll likely be doing a live video tomorrow around 10 a.m. Eastern time, like we said, when that really hazardous window opens, in my opinion. Just to because I do believe some things might change a little bit here and there. So I have to give out the new information. My goal is to always give everyone, the public, as much information as possible and let you guys determine what's best for you. I can't tell you what to do. All I can do is communicate the weather for you. And that's what we're going to do is give you all the information that we have with responsibility and accountability, and then allow you guys to make your decisions on preparedness. But if I had a word of advice, it would just to be prepared for this as much as you can.
Yeah, you're not the first person that said that today. We also have a video at Kentucky'sHeartland.com and on our Facebook page from Sarah Fellows with Nolan RECC. We'll also be adding some other videos as we go because, Kentucky's Heartland, it is your community, our community. It's all about sharing that information that keeps you safe. And, having the knowledge is important to
Right.
plan ahead. So George, thank you for taking time to do this. I know just like the
Absolutely.
last time we talked, you've been spending a lot of hours in your little dungeon there working
Of
on
course.
on getting the forecast right. So thank you for doing what you're doing for the Heartland.
Absolutely. I appreciate you having me on and letting other people get prepared for this as well. It's like I told you before we even started this thing. It's all about getting everyone the information that they can and letting them do what they can do with it.
All right, he's George Herbig with Weather Now Kentucky, or the Weather Dude. I am Greg
Weather
Milby,
Dude.
community storyteller, and this is Kentucky's Heartland.